my name is Seattle Sims and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing today, which is a build challenge. I don't do build challenges very often, but I really wanted to take this one on because it is the Deli Bad Build challenge. If you aren't aware, Deligracy is another YouTuber and she particularly does a lot of Sims videos. She's probably my favorite Sims YouTuber, if not my favorite YouTuber at the moment. I really like a lot of her builds because I think our aesthetics are pretty similar, but that might be just because I watch a lot of her videos, so my aesthetics are probably inspired by her. And I also really like a lot of her Let's Plays because in her gameplay she incorporates a lot of drama, and I love to have drama in my Sims games. It keeps the game fun and fresh. And yeah, so the challenge here is that we need to renovate this skinny house because when Deligracy did her video, she was trying to make one of the ugliest houses in The Sims 4. And basically we cannot change the exterior walls, and I included that to be the patio in the back there that's made of a little half wall. That is not a fence. I thought it was a fence. And the windows that are at the front and back of the house. Now, when I was watching Deli's original video where she built this house, I was really expecting her to make it a tiny house, but she did not make it a tiny house. Instead, she built this long, skinny house, which is fine. When I went in to do this challenge, I wanted to make it a tiny house, but the tile count was too much. That might have been because when I checked, the deck was a little too big, and I did make the deck smaller, but I didn't go back to check to see if we got to under 100 tiles. I don't think that we quite met it even when I did change the deck, but it might meet the tiny house requirements since I changed the deck, but I didn't actually check, so I don't know. Anyway, this house was inspired by tiny living, of course, because of the skinny house, and I was also inspired by eco living, although I do not own the eco lifestyle expansion pack. So when I was building the house, I had to go through and look for eco lifestyle inspired items. So on the outside of the house, on the bottom tier, the outside is a sheet metal, and on the top tier, we're using some wood. I thought maybe it could be like a refurbished wood. Depending on the sim living here. I also included the hedge fence on the outside of the porch to try and add a little bit more greenery into the build. And yeah, and now we're on the inside. For the inside, I wanted to not use a typical wooden stair. I wanted to use these metal stairs because I thought maybe that the sim was living here. Instead of like going dumpster diving for them, maybe they found like scrap metal and they're just really skilled in fabricating things, so they decided to make these stairs from scrap metal that they found. Similarly to the door here, I think that's a get to work door that I chose, but it is like all beat up. So I thought maybe this sim that was living here found this like beat up door and decided to incorporate it into their house. So now we're moving into the kitchen area. And here I wanted to make the house a little bit lighter and brighter because the outside is full of a lot of dark colors. You have the dark sheet metal and the dark wood. So I wanted to make the inside of the house a little bit more light and bright. And I did end up using items that are a little bit cheaper. And that is because I thought maybe that the sim was living here. If they are tiny living or oriented and eco lifestyle inspired, that they probably don't have a lot of money. So I wanted to use items that were on the cheaper end of the build and buy catalog. I think we're really lucky that we have this university kitchen fridge because it does act as a countertop and you're able to put the microwave up on there. So we have a little bit more counter space for when the sim is preparing food. One of the challenges with this space was trying to figure out what to do with this living room area. We'll tweak it a lot during this build. But in particular, I really wanted to have a couch in the living area, but then I remembered that we also need to have a dining area kind of in this house, and I didn't want the living and dining area to be similar. So we'll see more of that in a little bit. I jump around a lot in this build, I think, because I don't know about everybody else, but when I'm building, I always try and go room by room. But when I get to another part of the house, usually I'll be going through the build and buy catalog and I'll find like an item that is like perfect for the kitchen. So I'll jump back to the kitchen and then that'll lead me down a rabbit hole into decorating more of the kitchen. Like right now, I pulled out these shelves and now I'm trying to find the kitchen clutter items and put them up on the shelves. And then I jumped out here to add greenery to the outside because I want the outside to have more greenery, which we'll get to towards the end of the build. But yeah, does anybody else do that when they're building? If so, please comment down below and let me know. And if you have any strategies to like try and remember things to put in your certain rooms so you don't have to jump back and forth, because that is one of my worst flaws, I suppose, when I'm building in The Sims 4. So now we're going back to the living room, and I really wanted to incorporate that city living chair. It's one of my favorite items in the game, I think, when I'm making houses on a lower budget. I think you can buy it at flea markets occasionally in the game, but I don't know for sure because I usually don't go to the flea market. But yeah, it's one of my favorite items because I think it really fits in with like an eclectic sim who's trying to live on the lower end of their budget and whatnot. And now we're getting into the dining area thing that I was talking about a little bit earlier. This was a really big challenge for me because I wanted to try and have both a dining and living room area, but was really struggling because I thought that the dining room was a little bit too close to the living room area. I really like this blue table, bringing in some more color into the build, but what we're going to do here is probably delete the couch and then move the dining table over to where the couch is. And that will be the dining room / living room area. I decided to make the dining room and living room area the same space because we didn't have a lot of room. And I thought, well, you know, if this sim is tiny living oriented, then they're probably okay with having their dining room and living room being the same space. I figured if we had a comfy enough dining chair, they'd be fine with being able to watch TV from the dining chair. And we'll also add a laptop in a little bit because that will also be their office space. And that's what happens when you don't have a lot of room. I wanted to add these poofs underneath the stairs, but ended up deleting them. I thought maybe for storytelling aspect wise, maybe this sim like stores poofs underneath their stairs as seating areas. So like maybe if people come over, so they can have comfier chairs rather than the dining chairs, but I decided against that in the end. And now we're moving to the upstairs space, just trying to figure out the wall colors here. This is when I decided that the sim that was living here was probably more feminine. So we make the bedroom pink and then the upstairs walls beige, and then I jump back downstairs to make the downstairs walls blue because originally they were beige as well, and I didn't want to have too much beige in the house. So now we're moving into the bathroom. There really isn't much to see in this particular part of the build. It's all white. We use the Discover University shower to try and save some space. And then on the outside of the bathroom, we have a sink for Sims to wash their hands. And I went with this laundry day sink because I thought it was industrial and working with the aesthetic of the build that we're trying to create. And of course, the sim also has a mirror there to gussy up, brush teeth, whatever. The bedroom of the house, we're now moving into the bedroom of the house, which is probably my favorite part of the build. I made it nice and pink. Pink is my favorite color, so I had to have a little bit of pink somewhere. And this is when I also decided that the person living in this house is probably an artist. So we have the rainbow door that I think that they painted for themselves, and we're going to add a lot of art around the bedroom as well as in other areas of this upstairs level. And the reason for that is because I am also an artist, so I guess I'm really building this room for me if I were to live here. Yeah, so I'm an artist, so I like to put art up all across my walls to see what I've done in the past and to influence me for what I want to do in the future. We use a lot of these sketch drawings. I think they're from base game, but I'm not positive. But like those sketch drawings that I think a lot of people use when they build artistic homes. I really wish that we had a sketch pad or something for our artistic Sims. That was an item that was available in the Sims 3 University expansion pack, where if your Sim was studying like an artistic degree at university, they'd get a sketch pad, and part of one of their courses in the game was to go to class and sketch. And when your Sim was finished creating that sketch, they'd be able to post it around their house wherever and use it as inspiration. So I really wish that we had an item like that in the game, although the easel does give us a lot of painting choices for when we paint. Yeah, so I'm just trying to make this room really nice and girly. I really think that I think I'm making it this way because this is totally how I would want to have my house look or my room look whenever I am able to have like my own house. I really want it to be nice and girly. I also thought I'd put up these political, I guess, protest signs because I think that the sim living here probably is pretty politically active, considering that they're tiny living oriented and uh, eco lifestyle friendly kind of sim. And yeah, let's see, what are we doing now? I think what we're doing, yes, we're adding this mural in the living room area. I thought since the sim was artistic, they'd probably paint some of the walls in their house on their own. So I thought adding this mural was great, although we're going to change it in just a little bit to the red color swatch, and we're going to move it to where the TV is because I am going to add some windows where it is currently. Although I kind of wish that I kept it as this like children playing kind of thing because it kind of has a nice youthful feel to it, and I feel like this sim is pretty youthful considering the room is all pink and whatnot. So underneath the stairs here, what I decided to do was just add a side table, and I'm really grateful that in The Sims 4, what we have now, since Tiny Living was introduced, we have little book clutter items, so we can have a little bookshelf in our house without having to put in a full bookshelf. And then over here on this side of the stairs where it's inaccessible, I decided to put this canvas holder, paint holder thing. I don't actually know what that's called. I guess I'm painting shelf to try and just fill that space a little bit. And since our sim is an artist, I thought it was perfect. I also threw in some laundry because I thought, let's try and add as much as we can to this tiny house. And now we're moving on to the roofing. So I did the roofing a little bit earlier in the video, but I cut it out since we ended up going back to this. And the reason why I ended up coming back to the roofing is because I was trying to create a skylight, but I was really struggling because when I originally put it in before building all the rooms, it ended up going where the bathroom was and the walls were cutting into it in a weird way. So now I'm just trying to struggle and put the skylight in here, and I decided to put it over the bathroom sink because I thought that would be a nice place to put it. Like in the morning, if you're getting ready, you can have the sun like shining down on you. You can look up and see if it's raining and decide like what you want to do for the day and whatnot. And now we're just deleting all the temporary lights that I set down and trying to figure out where the windows go. I decided to save the windows for last since we have the 4 windows on either side of the house, and I was trying to like figure out what windows would go best and where they would go best in the house, along with the lights that we want. I really wanted to have some girly lights since this is a pretty girly house in my opinion. I really wanted to try and have those mason jar lights, but they just weren't working out for me. I also don't really like the color of them. They're just too warm. Like I love a good like warm amber light, but they just weren't great and working really well. So I ended up choosing some other lights instead. In particular, I chose these from the fitness stuff pack because I thought they went well with the industrial kind of feel that we were trying to build, as well as the feminine kind of feeling that we were trying to create. Yeah, now I'm just struggling to like figure out which windows I want to use. I do end up choosing the Moschino windows, just because they're industrial feeling, and I thought that they went really well with this build in particular and the aesthetic of it. And I'm just struggling now to try and figure out like where to put them since I have all this art on the walls. But we eventually figure out what to do. So I'm going to move these paintings here over and put them on the side of the wall there by the sink. And I changed them back to birds because originally early on you saw in the video I was trying to like do like a pop art thing with the birds, but it just wasn't working because I didn't like how many colors were with the birds. But then I decided to have the 2 birds instead. Now I'm moving the mural over to where those windows are. I just thought it worked better there, and we needed some windows on this side of the house where the dining room table is. I'm going to change these windows to Moschino windows as well. And here I am struggling to like try and figure out how to place them next to each other. I totally forgot that we got an update where we can place windows on half tiles. So I'm like trying to put them next to each other and they're glitching out. And I'm like, oh my God, why are they glitching out? So I eventually figured it out though, and we got our windows placed. I also really like that these Moschino windows, like some of them are closed and some of them are open. I thought I was building this house in like the summertime, so I thought it would be nice to have those windows be open to like pretend like there's airflow coming in or something. Now we're just making our little patio area. I decided to choose this city living bench because I thought it was nice and cute and like our sim had painted it. And yeah, I also included the bike from Discover University because I thought if the sim is eco lifestyle conscious that they'd probably have a bike to go places instead of our imaginary cars or whatever we have in The Sims. How do they get from place to place, do you think? Who knows? Now we're moving on to landscaping. With landscaping, I wanted to add more greenery to the house here. So I'm just on these like sides where the roof was originally. I'm just going to put a bunch of plants, like some plants had just grown there on their own. Underneath her bedroom window, I'm going to add this little planter box because I thought it was cute. I wanted to have some plants like hanging off the side of the house, but I just wasn't able to incorporate it the way I wanted to. We're just going to keep on moving forward and just put the little plants where the roof was originally there. And we're also going to do that on the opposite side of the house as well, just to have some symmetry. Adding the little cat mailbox because I thought it was cute, and maybe since our Sim is an artist, they probably painted it themselves. Moving the build forward on the lot, and then here I was like, well, what am I going to do with the landscaping? Because we're on a pretty big lot. I thought about moving the house to a smaller lot, but then I thought of the movie Kiki's Delivery Service and how in that movie there is an artist who, she lives in the middle of the woods. So I thought, oh, maybe this house, since our Sim is also an artist, why don't they live in the middle of the woods? So I'm just going to put a bunch of trees everywhere to kind of give off the feeling that this house is in the middle of the woods somewhere. Although when you open it up on the map, all the trees on the map, it looks so horrendous, especially since I built this house in a new crest. So it was like totally empty everywhere else. In regards to like the ground here, I just decided to do a terrain paint that was like mostly dirt and some greenery to try and like convey that we're in the middle of a forest. Maybe all those little brown spots on the ground are like just like dirt patches or like nettles from the sequoias and stuff that we put down. I'm adding a little bit of rocks here just to try and give it a little bit of oomph on the outside. And then the original build had some gnomes in it, so I wanted to include some gnomes as an homage to the original build here. And I thought it would be cute. I love little gnomes. Alright, so there's our original build that Deligracy ended up creating, and here is what we ended up creating. And now we're going to go into some screenshots. Here's the outside of the house, the back of the house, the inside looking towards the kitchen and the entrance, upstairs where the sink is, the laundry, inside the bedroom, my favorite room of the house, all of our little paintings. Here's the floor plan. I took out some of the trees on the floor plan so we could see it. And yeah, that's our house. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment what you think of it. Did we make this house better than what it was originally? And if you're looking forward to seeing more content from me in the future, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. I will include Deligracy's original build in the video description down below, and if you would like to support me on Patreon, please also click the description down below.